The Team8 journey, if you look at it from 7 years ago, started with a focus on this foundry model that builds new companies from scratch. This was the sole thing that we've done. And also cybersecurity was the sole focus. So we created this $42 million fund that was aimed at building 5 new companies, partnering with amazing entrepreneurs to do the ideation process together and found new companies from scratch.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley in partnership with Leumi Tech and sponsored by Hippo Insurance, Turing, Upwest Labs, and Hillel at Stanford. Episode 400. What? Well, I have an amazing guest with us today, a great friend, mentor, just an incredible guy, Liran Grinberg, managing partner of Team8 Capital and co-founder of Team8. Liran is the co-founder of Team8 and the managing partner of its investment fund, Team8 Capital. Liran invests at seed and A rounds in enterprise technology, cybersecurity, and data companies. He co-founded Team8 in 2014, initially focusing on the design of Team8's company-building foundry model, working closely with the founding teams of Curve, acquired by PayPal, PortShift, acquired by Cisco, Signia, acquired by Temasek, and others. Liran then transitioned to lead Team8's marketing, business development, and market research functions, alongside the formation of the Team8 Village, a tight-knit community of hundreds of enterprise executives. Liran Grinberg, good to see you here. How are you doing?
Good to see you. I'm good.
We're in the beautiful...
Good to meet you in person.
It's weird meeting in person. I'm used to seeing you only on Facebook, but I guess you're real now. But we're in the beautiful Team8 offices. I can't believe you're spanning 6 floors in this beautiful building in the middle of Tel Aviv and in New York with some incredible companies. Today you're leading the Team8 Capital Fund with Sarit and doing some amazing investments. And I'm just shocked, having seen a little bit of the growth, having visited here for the first time, I think 7 years ago, seeing what happened with Team8. And one of the questions that I asked you, did you expect this to become like that? And I think that's where I want to start. Liran, did you expect Team8 to be what it is today?
We're an ambitious group, but I don't think we've when we started 7 years ago, we've known where it is today. We were always thinking of things differently and started with a unique model of how we form companies and how startup are starting and built. We didn't know it will become the venture group that it is today. We didn't know the sectors that we will kind of develop into, but it's very exciting. It's been a hell of 7 years to date.
So I have to tell you a secret. For the 5 years that I was in 8200, every time I walked through the halls and I kept seeing the team leaders and I thought of myself as a team leader, I kept thinking back to Liran's story. A team leader, a tech leader in Merkaz Tishim that went after the army to create a company with the head of the unit and the commander of his own commander. And I kept thinking, how is that possible? That has to be the most extraordinary way to leave the unit.
So that's not exactly the story, but I'll walk you through it. So I did serve for 6 years in 8200. I was working under Israel's command, which is one of the co-founders, and Nadav's was the commander of the unit altogether. But I worked very closely with Israel, more so than with Nadav back then. I was actually running a team as a junior officer. I had my own role, but somehow, occasionally, I was called to help Israel, which I didn't know at the time. I just knew who he is, but we never met before, to help with some presentation. And somehow I remember that night lasting until 4 a.m. And we've bonded. And ever since, for a few years' time, we just worked on additional projects alongside my official role. And Israel saw in me, I think, kind of like a good representation of the generation that is not immigrants to the digital world, as he sees himself, that he wasn't born with the computer in his hand, but we did. And in all sorts of big events, important strategic discussion, he brought me as this young generation representation. Today we are old. We weren't born with iPhones and touch screens in our head. But back in the days, let's say we were kind of like the digital native, where their generation was immigrants, if you'd like. Anyhow, we had this great relationship. I left 8200 after 6 years, and I've had the opportunity to actually work and do product management roles before starting Team8. Yeah, so it's not right after. I actually had the had the opportunity to do two startups that become unicorns. I led product management for the APIs and developers platforms at Conduit, which had $250 million daily active users. It was kind of like the most successful internet company at the time, and it was a great school for product management. In 8200, I did engineering and then led engineering teams, and then Conduit was where I learned product management. And then, very relevant these days, I did another role at eToro, the social investment network, a fintech company that today officially announced they're going IPO through a SPAC for 10 and something billion dollars. And eToro is exploding now, which is proud to see.
So you knew to choose them before Team8.
Yeah. Not only that, my boss was Ronen, who's one of the founders. And today I'm very proud not only to call him my former boss, but now also a partner at Team8. So he's my partner now. As we expanded to build Team8 FinTech, one of the first names that came to mind was Ronen, one of the people that I liked the most from my time at eToro. And we're very happy for him to celebrate this very exciting day for eToro. And he's still very involved in the company and on its board, but also now a partner in our new FinTech practice.
So from engineering, 8200, deep technology engineering, to product management, to venture building, and now to capital. Walk me through this. What are you from all of those different traits?
So I think a well-rounded person. It's true. Engineering, leading engineering teams, product management, then entrepreneurship and company building. My chapter 2 within the Team8 journey, which we can talk about more, is actually go-to-market. Which is really kind of like different aspects of a startup company. And nowadays, I think bringing all these diverse background into investments and working with the companies that I invest in. But the Team8 journey, if you look at it from 7 years ago, started with a focus on this foundry model that builds new companies from scratch. This was the sole thing that we've done. And also cybersecurity was the sole focus. So we created this $42 million fund that was aimed at building 5 new companies, partnering with amazing entrepreneurs to do the ideation process together and found new companies from scratch, right, with those amazing founders. And we imagined a platform that will take what 2 entrepreneurs do in the garage up until then and make a profession out of it, make it more methodic, make it more resourceful, and hopefully dramatically increase the chances of success.
So it makes perfect sense in hindsight. You go back, you're looking at the incredible companies. I think you had your 3rd exit just in the past 2 weeks or so with Curve, with PayPal. You're sitting there with Israel and Nadav, and you're coming up with these different models that weren't very popular back then, especially not in the cybersecurity world, which in itself is very niche, specifically also in Israel. What was the aha moment? Why this thesis? How did you even arrive to this idea?
First of all, you're right. It wasn't very popular. And I remember going on a plane with Nadav to fundraise, and we got a lot of no's. And that model to begin with was not very popular. And a lot of people were telling us, go build one successful company before you try to teach everyone how to build companies, or do a company that builds multiple ones, which is a very legit feedback to give us. And still, maybe if you look at Nadav and Israel, just graduating out of 25 years in the military system, and they had this fresh look. And the way we phrase it back then is, if you look at how innovation was brought to the world, it's, let's say, generally in 3 ways. One is through the academia, which has this amazing deep research capabilities, but lack maybe the commercial aspects of it, lack the focus, maybe throwing things too way into the future and not solving problems of today. There's incumbents, the big enterprises that really understand the customers. They have great resources, access to the customers, but bureaucratic, slow to innovate, as we know today. And there's startup companies which are agile and laser focused and dynamic, but very resourceless, right? They don't have the access, they don't have a lot of capital. And then we said, okay, maybe if we'll build a platform that will try to bring the good of all these worlds, the deep research capabilities of the academia, the market access that the big incumbents have, but preserve the agility of a startup, maybe there's a model that can actually increase the chances of success. And the Team8 platform that we've built actually consists today of like 10 people doing research in-house. Data scientists, ex-attackers, engineers. Typically, funds do not have this and at scale. Also, academia relations. We have someone full-time just working on extracting research in academia that we can commercialize potentially. So we have that. We have a very strong go-to-market team and a village of enterprise executives surrounding it to really give us the understanding of the problems in the marketplace and access to the design partners with kind of like deep relationships even before we started the journey. And these ingredients, we wrapped it with a process, a very thematic process of saying, first, let's research and find a big problem that we believe if we solve it, there's a great opportunity behind it. Then let's do ideation of try to bring technology innovation to solve it. And thereafter, really validate it extensively with this village. And then we're ready kind of like to spin off a new company to the marketplace.
So take me to the founder's perspective. You have a founder that's now joining Team8 and is joining this beautiful wrapper that they have all these different resources to pull from. They have all these different experts in the capital and a beautiful building in the middle of Tel Aviv and just all and amazing enterprise specialists that are going to be potential partners with them down the line. How is their experience compared to the average entrepreneur out of their garage with a couple of friends raising the regular rounds of a startup? How do you differ?
So first, important to say that today, Team8 has evolved. Before answering the questions, Team8 has evolved. So today we have 2 Foundry funds and 2 Foundry activities, one on partnering with entrepreneurs early on to build cyber and AI companies. The other, the newer one, is to do the same in fintech. But then we have Team8 Capital, which invests in companies more like in the regular VC world. So this is where, up until now, we haven't done it, but in the last year and a half or so, we have deal flow, we meet entrepreneurs, and then we can lead serious seed and A rounds in companies. So this is more like a regular VC model. So we have both today, which is important to note. Our platform supports companies, whether they were incubated within Team8's Foundry vehicles or if we invested in them through Team8 Capital, we still support them. But still, I think there's definitely a unique process within the Foundry vehicle. And this is it's about timing. It's about a great entrepreneurial team that does not necessarily have the idea yet, does not necessarily know even the big problem that he wants to solve. The way we do it is we have this today 50 people team, including the partners that bring a lot of domain expertise and company building expertise. But these teams focused on go-to-market and research, and as well as HR and recruitment of teams that work for the founders. The founders is at the center. It's true that in the Foundry, we all reside in the same building because we're working very closely to one another, both in Tel Aviv and in New York. And the process is actually, through the phases that I described, is very methodic. And the first phase of defining the problem, it's actually there's a gate summarizing it. And then we go to the next stage of ideation, and there's a gate summarizing where we cracked the idea, and then a final gate for validation. But important to note that this process is also very collaborative with our village. So, for example, these gates is where we bring all of our strategic investors around the table. I think I showed you that picture of 40 or 50 people in a room, 4 hours per gate per company, 3 gates per company in their process. And then at the gate, we just summarize all the past few months of research, sharing all the dilemmas, the challenges. And you have all these companies, Microsoft, Cisco, Walmart, Barclays, Moody's, AT&T, SoftBank, which are Team8 LP investors, but they're also kind of like design partners and part of the company building process. And the idea is our companies now meet more than 100 potential customers until they kind of like graduate this process, is to really be validation obsessed and to de-risk the process, making sure that we're solving for a big problem. And if we solve it, there's a big opportunity behind it, and just increase the chances of success.
So it literally sounds like an accelerator for the lifetime of the company, including these feedback sessions that otherwise would take months to get to, if you can even get to these people, and having them concentrated, focused on your company, with incentivized to help you and provide you with feedback, not just we don't like it, but here's why, and here's how we would improve, and here's how we could potentially see ourselves interacting with this product, down the line, which I can just imagine.
Correct, and it's we do it one-on-one, like this new company and Walmart, let's say, but there's also in these gate sessions, it's all of them come together. And this is where magic happens, right? You have the retail perspective, and you have the banking perspective, and you have US perspective, and you have European perspective, and it's all around one table. So you can actually debate together, and the insights that the founding team gets out of these discussions is really phenomenal.
Is it still intimate? It sounds to me, from knowing you from a few years, that it was very, very intimate. It's like it's a family that you all are working closely together. Is it still like this now that it's growing so much?
Look, it's not the same. Team8, it's still a small company. It's 50 people, but it's not the 3 or 4 people that we were back then. But if you look at the gates, there are still the same kind of like 40 people, the relevant people for that specific company and that specific domain. And it works very nicely because the way we've structured, although the group is now bigger, all of us, the partners and the employees, everybody at Team8 have part of the GP, part of the equity stake in whatever we're building. Each of us have a stake in all the different funds and all the different activities. So when Sarit or myself are leading an A round in a fintech company or a cyber company, it's our responsibility and we're doing the deal. But let's say it's a fintech company, so the partners in our fintech practice, Rakefet, Yuval, Ronen, will chime in to help us due diligence and vet this opportunity. And when we make the investment, of course, they'll support it and help it. And we all succeed if any of those companies succeed. Same goes for us. So Sarit and myself see the deal flow, learn a lot from it. Those insights are, transitioned back to the foundries, building new companies. It's all one brand, one family, working very synergetically together.
Why are you having so much fun? What is it about your day, your year? I mean, honestly, it sounds like a fairy tale story. I'm sure that there's a lot of hurdles along the way from everywhere, but considering what type of story one could have in the Israel ecosystem, I can't imagine a much better story than what you're telling me here. And honestly, I love what you guys are doing here. It's inspiring just to see that it's very humble people sitting together, thinking really critically about real world issues, incubating them without all the big the huge PR, sitting down and working really, really hard. And at the end, just show incredible results and seeing Team8 as a company grow and as an organization. But for you, Liran, what has been the part of it that you say, wow, like I'm so passionate about this, or this is why I wake up?
Yeah, I think we're just, a lot of us in the venture ecosystem generally, we're just very lucky to be working with super smart people. Which is just energizing. I think for me, I'm very lucky to be working with the partners that I have at Team8. These are people that have built 2 unicorn companies and others that have done multiple exits and other that
commanded thousands of people.
I'm young and much less experienced than all of them, and I'm working with phenomenal people every day. And generally, like a lot of us, again, in the venture ecosystem, we're working with brilliant founders, super committed and ambitious, and it's just it's a job that you can't. It's never boring and always fun. And I think we want to kind of like invest in and build big companies and get them to success. It's just exciting, and it's never a dull moment. I think as the group expands to more areas, we were laser focused on cyber. Now we're doing AI, we're doing data infrastructure, cloud infrastructure, DevOps. We're doing fintech. Still very domain expertise driven, still very focused. But again, getting into new domains. The group will eventually want to also start a digital health foundry. Thereafter, we will also invest in digital health companies. That's kind of like where we want to take our cyber and data expertise to eventually, someday, not necessarily now, because we've expanded quite a lot. So never a dull moment. A lot of learning new things, entering new domains, working with incredible people. Couldn't be happier.
Was there ever an imposter syndrome that you felt?
Meaning what?
You're young. You're joining forces with the commander of your commander of your commander and his commander. 2 figures that are arguably some of the most incredible people in the Israeli cyber ecosystem. And now you're at the table with them. Now you're a partner. And you're at the same caliber like this. Yes, there was product management and other things in between, but I'm imagining myself sitting down with my own commanders now. It's scary.
Yeah, no, scare was definitely nowhere near it. I think I don't know. We had great chemistry. I think we complement one another. I'm really privileged to be working again with partners like them. But yeah, I can't say also that I planned for it. Right. I was, before we started Team8, I was working at eToro. I was, and then when the discussions with Nadav and Israel back then came to life, I was nowhere near thinking of leaving eToro. I loved eToro. I really believed in the company. It was very emotionally difficult to leave that company, and I was right. Look at where it is today. But I think the opportunity came, the synergy was amazing. These are people that wanted to do amazing things. And I was privileged to be joining this founding team and build this. I don't know.
It looks amazing. Okay, I have a few interesting questions. First one, your favorite subject in school?
That would be biology. My mom was a biologist. She was teaching biology in high school. And actually she has a company doing alternative healthcare products to medicine. That's her life mission. And I really always liked following her. So I learned 5 yechidot, in biology, and I liked it very much. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. And your role model, one of your role models?
The cliche, but you can't just following every day the new things that this guy comes up, Elon Musk. I think that's I know it's a cliche one.
What is it about him? Is it his entrepreneurial spirit, his breaking the rules mentality?
I think it's just dreaming big. Is one thing after the other. Is just inspiring to see how far away and how big his dreams and ambitions go, which is really, really inspiring to us. We want to solve big things, and then we look at what he's doing. It's like but it's good to have such people to get inspired from.
Exactly. Okay. And the most important and hardest question, 3 words that either you would choose to describe yourself, or if I were to ask Israel or Nadav or Ronen or anybody else in the team, who is Liran Grinberg?
I think curious, a team player and very collaborative in nature, and pragmatic. Is a few words, simple words for a simple guy that I would use to describe myself.
Liran, toda rabba. This is amazing. Best of luck with this. One day I can't wait to try and work for you. But thank you for the inspiration in the meantime.
Awesome.